This is a quick tutorial on how to repair a Mico lighter. This lighter is set up obviously for a smoke stand, and the cord would drop down out of the bottom. If it was used as a table lighter, it would come out the side hole. So the first thing to do is remove the back screw and release the mechanism. Push the wires out and note this lighter has a good button, so that doesn't have to be replaced. And also note the location of an insulator strip that's in the side of the lighter and locks into two retainers that are cast into the lighter. Cut the wire free, and now you are able to repair the lighter element. This, by the way, is a spring contact that the lighter button depresses and makes contact with it's a contact disc that connects one of the ends of the nichrome wire. So that has to be in good shape, otherwise you have to make another one or not repair the lighter at all, because it's very hard to replace. It's a piece of spring bronze. Unscrew the ceramic element. Now all the tools I'm using are very simple tools. You could use wrenches, but I find that this works very well. Just remove the back screw or nut off the screw. Now this one is being held in place because the screw keeps spinning. There, that's the nut. Here's the screw. Of course, it fell right through the mica disc because it's so deteriorated. Then you have to spread open the detents on the bezel, which is done quite easily with a screwdriver. Remove the bezel. You can discard this, and this is a good time if this thing is bent or rusty, corroded. You can clean it up with steel wool or something. Remove the old nichrome wire, which usually is more deteriorated than this one. Then this is the contact disc, which has to be removed, and it usually pops off. Now, very often this piece of looks like a little piece of brass of some sort isn't there, and all you have to do is take the new nichrome wire and pass it under this disc, and this disc should hold the nichrome wire end captive. The other end, of course, attaches to the central screw, and I'll show you how that gets assembled in 1 second. Now, if you're rebuilding one of these, you may want to order a kit online on eBay under Mico Lighter Repair Kit, and this is a kit that contains everything you need to completely rebuild a lighter. Nichrome wire, a new button that's made out of a phenolic plastic that doesn't melt very easily, a new mica disc, and an insulating strip that you really need to prevent this arm this spring arm from making contact with the lighter body that would short everything out. And that comes complete with instructions and a pictorial diagram describing the parts in the assembly procedure. So moving on to assembling this. This is the way the nichrome wire is shipped. It's shipped on a steel mandrel that you could throw away, which you no longer need. Extend out a little piece of the nichrome wire, attach it to the screw. You can wind it around a few times to make sure it makes good contact with the screw. Insert it in the hole. Now that captures one end of makes contact with one end. Then you work the nichrome wire around the serpentine ceramic thing as best you can. You can even it out if it's short on one side and long on the other. You can stretch it a little bit to make it longer, like I'm doing here, but not too long. And if you do overstretch it, you can put it back on the mandrel and wind it up again so it's the right length. Now this end goes through this side and has to make contact with this contact disc, but you can't short it out on this. Obviously that's the other end of the nichrome wire, and if you able to take this this free end and hook it under I think I am. Maybe I'm not able to do it. No, I'm not. I have to lift this up a little bit to allow it to fit under here and wrap it around so it makes good contact. Then it has to be pressed back. Otherwise, it's not going to make contact with the contact disc. Then put the contact disc on, and again, if this isn't on your ceramic disc, just carefully wind this around and run it under the contact disc so that it makes good contact with the end of the nichrome wire. Now that's basically the assembly. This contact disc should not touch this central screw because they'll short the whole thing out and you just blow a fuse perhaps. So that's basically that. I haven't put the nichrome wire in the serpentine yet because I'd like to help assemble this a little bit to hold things straight. Now you can put this washer back. This insulating washer goes back on, and tighten it up to make bring everything in good contact. Not too tight because you can really break this thing quite easily if you're not careful. A little trick I have to run this nichrome wire around a serpentine, and the way I do it is I roughly fit it in, and if it fits fairly well, which it does here, I take the mica disc and hold the wire down in place as it could be stretched out a little bit more as I run it around the serpentine. Otherwise it just keeps flopping over and being very annoying. See, now it's kind of falling into place. So now it's mostly in place. You carefully slide the mica disc over, trapping the nichrome wire in place, and then you can place the bezel back on. Make sure everything looks good and nothing is squashed. Place it down. I'm going to rotate this around to where the detents used to be in here, and then just press the metal back into where it belongs so it holds the bezel in place. Okay, now this part is restored. Then you screw it back on to this end of the insulator block, and you'll notice there's a piece of brass that picks up this side of the wire, and screw it back in. And you can screw it in until it's hand tight. That's what I usually do. It doesn't have to be over tight. And if you do want to make it extra tight, you can always pass a small screwdriver in the central hole here and make it a little tighter. But this is tight right now. So this makes contact with one end of the nichrome wire, passing through the center, and this is the contact spring that hits the contact disc and makes contact with the other side of the nichrome wire and lights it up. So now all that remains is soldering on the wires back onto where they belong, and I'll do that and pull out some wire here, and I use something like a spring clip while I'm soldering these parts on, just to hold it steady, otherwise they flap around. Since I'm doing this by myself, you could use a third hand. Little flux. Little solder. And I'm going to remove the old soldered wires. Sometimes these holes are open, sometimes they're not, but this contact has to be made. Okay, so that is basically it. Now you could put a knot in here to prevent this from being pulled out and causing a short. But what I do after I'm done rebuilding these lighters, I put a big blob of silicone back here to prevent, to act as a strain relief to keep the wire from pulling out. So now you have to install the insulator strip on the left hand side of the lighter, and it fits like a snug fit, and it slides in nicely. Then you put the actuator button or on and off button in. Sometimes a tweezer helps get it in the right spot. Now when you install this, you have to make sure the lighter button using gravity pulls it toward the top of the lighter and feed the mechanism in, depressing the spring and it should go in nicely. Right now it's not, but there it goes. And you should be able to see where the little screw goes in. Replace the screw. With the non-magnetic screwdriver would help. There, and that's the way it should look when it's done. The actuator button seems to work well. Now I'll plug this in and just verify that everything is okay. And as you can see, it lights up, and once again it's a functioning Mico lighter. And if you're interested in following up, you can go to tjzusa.com and look at this video or get instructions on how to repair these lighters. Now the same procedure will also work on Eagle type lighters. Very simple to do, and probably make a video on this one day and you'll be able to see how that's done. Thank you for watching.